Hello guys, and welcome to another video on the environmental law series. In this video we are going to learn about the Environmental Protection Act of 1986. Now, Environmental Protection Act is one of the most important act because it acts as a general legislation for various other environmental law related issues. The Environmental Protection Act was therefore a product of Article 253 of the Constitution and therefore was a result of the United Nations Conference on the Human Environment in the year 1972 held in Stockholm. Now, coming to the various objectives in relation to the Environmental Protection Act, the most main objective includes it created authority for government protection. It coordinated various activities of various regulating agencies which is under the existing laws. The main task here is to look into the various environmental hazards. It provides punishment to those who endangers the human environment, safety and health. But the main goal here is of the Act of the Environmental Protection Act to make sure the environmental is used in the sustainable manner. The sustainable development includes achieving the object and the purpose of the act as well as the protection of the life under Article 21 of the Indian Constitution. Now let's look into the important definition in regards to the Environmental Protection Act. Here in this case we are going to look into environment, environmental pollution and environmental pollutants. Now the word environment is defined under section 2, which defines the word environment, which includes water, air and also interrelation between the existent. It also includes human being and other living creatures such as the plants, microorganism and property. Okay, now let's move on to the definition of the environmental pollutants, which includes substances of the solid, liquid and the gaseous form which is considered injurious to health of the living being. So basically these are the pollutants which can be in the form of liquid, solid or even gaseous state which is causing the pollution. Okay, finally let's look into the definition of environmental pollution, which includes the presence of the environmental pollutants, okay, which we just discussed in the environment. Now let's look into the various measures of the central government which they take to protect the environment. We are going to look them into short and brief. Now such measures may include laying standard for the environment, laying standard of quality for the environment, okay, secondly to coordinate actions with the state officers and the authority any under the law, executing various plans with regards to the national programs for prevention, control and abatement of the environmental pollution, okay, to restrict any industries or process or any operation which can be harmful for the environment. The powers and the duties of the government laid down. The proposal of the remedy should be put forward for the protection and prevention of the further incidents. Okay, the central government also has a duty and power to lay down procedure for the safeguard in regards to the hazardous substances. Okay, it also has a power to examine manufacturing process, including to look into the various materials and substances which are likely to cause environmental pollution. Okay, the central government also has a power to inspect various premises, equipment and also materials to look into if they are hazardous to the environment and hence prevent and control. Okay, the central government also has a power to collect information in relation to the environmental pollution. Okay, it also has a power to prepare various manuals, okay, codes and guides which are suitable enough for controlling of the environment. Furthermore, it also has a power to establish various laboratories. Okay, and lastly the central government has a power to serve various matters in which are necessary for the central government to deal for the effective implementation of the Environmental Protection Act of 1986. Now, the Environmental Protection Act also provides for the environmental protection rules. Now, these rules came into force on 19 November 1986. Okay, and this provides for, in general, if you go through various standard of quality, soil, water for the various areas and the purpose of the environment. It sets up standard to know about the limits of the environmental pollutants. Okay, furthermore, it safeguards the need to assess the hazardous substances. Okay, it restricts substances which are hazardous in nature. Furthermore, it gives the remedies to provide better controlling of the environmental pollution and also looks into the location of the various industries which are situated, and it also provides for the prohibition and restriction on the various industries in different kinds of environment or different areas. Now next, let's look into the various punishments which have been given for the contravention of the rules as well as the orders of this act. Now section 15 states that any person who is not complying with the various provisions stated in this act, and his failure or contravention will make him liable and punishable for as following. Okay, the firstly, there's an imprisonment punishment which extends to this time span of 5 years. Okay, and it may be with fine, which may be extended to 1 lakh rupees. Okay, or the liable person has to deal with both. So either it's the punishment or either it's the imprisonment or fine or both. Okay, if the contravention of the offense that continues for 1 year, the punishment can extend up to 7 years. Okay, now also the section 24 provides if any offense is punishable under the Environmental Protection Act and also under other acts, then the person shall not be liable for the Environmental Protection Act. Okay, this is particularly reduces the punishment extended in other act, includes lesser punishment. Now lastly, let's look into what happens when the offenses is committed by a company. Now whenever an offenses is committed by a company, let's look into the section 16 of the Environmental Protection Act, which provides for the principle, which explains that the principle of vicarious liability of the in charge of persons such as directors, managers and secretary for the offense committed by the company. Okay, now he will be not held liable if the offense was committed without his knowledge, and secondly, if the person has taken enough care, okay, or diligent care to prevent the commission of an offense. Okay, now in such a case, the complaint can be made either by the central government or any authority associated with the government, or any person who has given notice of complaint within the term of 60 days, okay, of the alleged offense. Therefore, the concept of the vicarious liability will be applicable, and the managing director, secretary will be held liable for the offense committed by the company. Okay, and later on, if the offense was committed without his knowledge and diligent care was taken to prevent the offense, then he is not held liable. And lastly, the complaint can be made by central government or the authority associated with it, or any other person within 60 days of the commission of the alleged offense. That's all for today's video, guys. I'll see you in the next video soon. Bye.